Hey guys, what's happening? Welcome to the United Talk. Brighton nil, Manchester United 3 in the Carabao Cup. We're going to talk about that game, but first let's talk about some transfer news, guys. I hope all of you are doing well. But let's just get started into the transfer news because we have lots of things to talk about today, including Jadon Sancho, Alex Telles, Luka Jovic, and the possible loan move to Manchester United from Real Madrid, and then a lot of outgoings as well in terms of Andres Pereira, who's already left on loan, possibly Jesse Lingard, Romero, Smalling, Diego Dalot. So lots of things to talk about and the match reaction as well. So stay tuned with me. Let's begin. Jadon Sancho to Manchester United. Now look, a lot of stories came out in the last couple of days about United putting in a bid for Jadon Sancho and it being rejected by Borussia Dortmund. Now the reality is, and Fabrizio Romano came out and said this in the podcast, that unlike a lot of journalists who said that the bid has or did went in for Jadon Sancho, that's not the case because United were preparing a bid, right, for Jadon Sancho. They were preparing to bid for Sancho. Borussia Dortmund actually contacted Manchester United and said, "We know you're preparing a bid, but if it's anything less than 120 million euros, so 108 million pounds that we want for Jadon Sancho, and don't even bother putting in a bid because they're not going to accept it." So that's the situation right now with Jadon Sancho and United. They were trying to actually test waters with Borussia Dortmund because this is the end of the transfer market almost with 4 days left now. They were trying to test waters with Borussia Dortmund whether they are okay or ready to sell him for a cheaper price. And you know what? This is exactly what irritates me about Manchester United because let me bring in Alex Telles over here. Alex Telles and the deal. Now, a lot of journalists, including Romano, including Fabrizio Romano, came out and said a long time back that the deal of Sancho coming to United is taking so long because it's a big deal. It's the biggest transfer in their history. It's going to take some time. Well, at that moment of time, I didn't say I disagree with them, but when I think it over right now, I feel I actually do disagree with even Romano and all the journalists who are saying that because if you look at Chelsea, right? If you look at Chelsea and how they've gotten so many deals over the line. Now Havertz was not 100 million, but he was still 80 million plus add-ons, coming to 100 million. It was not an easy deal to do, and they still did it. So I understand that a big deal like this will not happen overnight. It will happen. It will take about a week or two to happen, but that's good enough time for any deal to happen. Now United have been dragging this Sancho deal out for weeks, not weeks actually, for months, which is for me a transfer strategy from them. And this strategy is a stupid, idiotic strategy. And I say that, and I said I was bringing Teles into this because now look at what's happening with Teles. On one hand, you say this deal is taking a long time because it's such a big deal because of the money involved, right? 100 million pounds is not less. It's a huge amount of money. But with Alex Telles, it's actually 18 million pounds. 18 million pounds is the money that Porto want. United are actually only offering 12 million pounds because they are saying that for the player who has 1 year remaining on his contract, who actually we can sign virtually for free 3 months down the line in the January transfer window, and he can come and play with us or play for us next season for free. We're not going to give you 18 million pounds for it. Now, a lot of you will agree with what United's stance is on this because I think a lot of you will say that it's fair to do that. But you know what? They're doing exactly the same thing with this Borussia Dortmund deal, Borussia Dortmund and Jadon Sancho deal. Because now the thing is, with Alex Telles, this might make sense. Because first of all, number one, he's not a priority. He's not a priority. He's not going to play week in, week out. He will be a backup to Luke Shaw. It's not a priority position. So it's okay to drag that deal down, right? It should have been done till now. Should have been done till now. But if you're doing it because you want to get lesser money, if you want to pay lesser money for Alex Telles, I mean, honestly, the only reason why Alex Telles is right now rated at 18 million pounds is because he has 1 year remaining on his contract. If that was not the case, he was at least 35 to 40 million pounds rated player. I'm telling you that. So, anyways, United are getting a cheaper deal, but they still want to just save a couple of million here and there. And if they're doing it for Alex Telles and you have a logic behind it because the player can sign for free, blah, 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 you know that they're doing the same thing with Jadon Sancho. With Alex Telles, like I was saying, first of all, he's not a priority position. He's not a priority player for us, right? Second of all, he has 1 year remaining on his contract. And in this case, the selling club actually has no power because the selling club is right now in a conundrum that if they don't sell the player right now, they might lose him for free or for nothing in the following summer. which is a big problem for Porto, and that's why it might make sense. And the third thing is, with Alex Telles and with this deal, it's it's a less amount of money. I mean, the amount of money is very less, and the fact that there's nobody else in for Alex Telles. There's nobody. There's no competition. Even if he had 1 year remaining on his contract, and then there was Tottenham involved with Manchester United and Chelsea involved, then Porto might have said, okay, let's get a bidding war going, right? Whoever pays the most or the highest gets Alex Telles. But even that's not the case because right now there's only Manchester United involved. So there are three things that are going against Porto. Three things they are going against Porto. He's not United's priority signing, so United are not desperate to get Alex Telles. He has 1 year remaining in his contract and can leave for free very, very soon. And there's nobody else in for him. There are three things against Porto. With Jadon Sancho, why this will not work is number one, first of all, we all thought he had 2 years remaining on his contract, but he actually has 3 years remaining in his contract. That's number one. So the selling club in this case has power. Now you can come out and say that the player also has power, the player can push for a move, blah blah blah. But Borussia Dortmund is a selling club. They're not a buying club. We are a buying club. Manchester United is a buying club. We buy top class players. Borussia Dortmund buy players who have potential, like Haaland, like Bellingham, like Sancho from Man City. They've bought so many players with potential, Hakimi, and then they convert these players, make these players into good players, and then sell them off for big amounts of profit. That's what they do. They're selling club, right? So they know exactly how to deal with such kind of situations because they've done that with Ousmane Dembele when he went to Barcelona, right? He went on a strike, and yet Barcelona had to pay so much money, the exact amount of money that Dortmund wanted for Ousmane Dembele. Same thing with Arsenal. Aubameyang went on a strike, but Arsenal still had to pay the money that Dortmund demanded for Aubameyang. So that's the thing with the Dortmund. They have experience in doing all these things. And United strategy, what they're applying, first of all, it's so transparent that even you and I can see it, right? And it's the same strategy for every player, which is why I again say these are idiotic people working in positions that they don't even deserve to be in the first place because they don't have experience for it, they don't have the brains for it. I'm not saying they're stupid men. What I'm saying is they don't know how to do their job properly because that's the reason. Otherwise, we would have seen a much better transfer window year on year. But if you look at this Jadon Sancho deal, he has 3 years remaining in his contract, which goes in the favor of Borussia Dortmund, the selling club. He is the priority of Manchester United. They desperately need a right winger, which Dortmund knows, which everybody in the world knows. That's again against us and in their favor. And thirdly, if they wait for 1 year, if Borussia Dortmund wait for 1 year, they not only get the amount of goals and assists they get from Jadon Sancho year in year out. So in terms of performances, yeah, they might not win the league with Jadon Sancho, but what I'm saying is they might get a lot out from the player. But the fact is, next year when they sell, they might just get more money than what they will get this year if United end up buying him. Because next year it will be United in the market. He'll have 2 years remaining in his contract. It will be United in the market. But with United, there will be other clubs as well. There will be Real Madrid. There will be Barcelona. There might be Bayern Munich. There will be Chelsea. There will be Liverpool. So many players will be in for Jadon Sancho. I think he might choose a club between Spain and England, or in Spain and England, and it's a war. It's a bidding war, and you know what happens when United get involved with so many other clubs for one player. They don't win. Normally, they do not win. So, I mean, look at what happened with Regulion, and I know that with Regulion, the demands of Real Madrid were high, but in the end, Borussia Dortmund might make any kind of demand, and there will be one club out there willing to pay it. It will be a bidding war, and the amount of time we take, they're so slow in doing any deals that if any other club is involved, we will not get the player. You look at the history. We got Harry Maguire. Nobody else was interested in him. Man City was interested, but then they pulled out because they didn't want to pay 80 million for him, right? Aaron Bissaka, nobody else was interested in him. Daniel James, nobody else was interested in, right? Bruno Fernandes, last summer, there were two clubs interested in Bruno Fernandes last summer, Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur. It didn't happen. It didn't happen for United because, again, they cannot even fight with the likes of Tottenham. And no disrespect, but Tottenham are a club which do not have the amount of the sum of money that we have. They have a tight owner. They don't have the kind of money that we have. And yet we couldn't get that deal done, right? And then even Tottenham couldn't get the deal done thanks to heavens, because then we got Bruno in the January transfer window, and in January nobody else was in for Bruno apart from Manchester United. So you look at the deals, you look at all the other deals that we've done so far, at least under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Only the last deal that I remember was Romelu Lukaku when he left Everton to come to Manchester United. Actually, at that point of time, Conte was interested in bringing Lukaku back to Chelsea, and the only reason United did not choose Chelsea is because he had a bad taste with respect to Chelsea in his mouth. So because he left Chelsea to join Everton in the first place, I think otherwise we don't get players when there are other clubs interested for them, and that's exactly the same thing is going to happen with Jadon Sancho next summer. And oh, by the way, I'll tell you what, Chelsea have spent so much money in this transfer market, right, in this transfer window, and people say that Chelsea had a transfer ban, so they had money saved. They sold Hazard for 100 million, they sold Morata for 58, 60 million, sold other players. They had 200 million worth of cash lying around to use for transfers. I'll tell you what, if Chelsea board was as incompetent as United board, they would have said, we've lost 30 million to 40 million because of COVID, right? So that's going to come out of the transfer kitty. We are going to lose another 30, 40 million because of COVID, because COVID actually in the European countries has had second peak, right? So a lot of countries are going into lockdown again. A lot of areas are going into lockdown. Fans are not going to come back to stadiums anytime sooner. So they are still going to keep losing money, right? So the Chelsea board could have come out and said, you know what, 30 million for what we've already lost, 30 million for what we may lose in the future, 60 million out of this transfer kitty, we'll give you 140 million. Instead, what happened? They bought Havertz for 80, they bought Ziyech for 30, that's 110, Werner for 50, that's 160. They bought Chilwell for 50, that's 210. Other two players for free, the defenders, and then the goalkeeper for another 24 million. That's 230 million plus they've spent in this transfer window. That's effective buying. And some might say they have done too much business, but look at the efficiency of that club. How efficient are they? And now they're selling players. They're loaning out players. They're selling players. And we've done what, one and a half deal this summer. One and a half. I say one and a half because Alexis Sanchez, we sold him for free. We were so desperate to get rid of him. We sold him for free, right? Donny van de Beek, he came to United because of Edwin van der Sar. I cannot emphasize it enough. So this Jadon Sancho deal, the fact that now what's going to happen with Jadon Sancho? Now, Romano has actually tweeted last night, or early hours of this morning, that United are strongly interested in getting Ousmane Dembele on loan from Barcelona. Now, again, I mean, I was so happy that we're not going to get Gareth Bale because he went to Tottenham. Because I didn't want Gareth Bale, 31 years of age, injury prone, didn't want to get him. But I mean, all that happiness is now washed away because now we are getting this guy, Ousmane Dembele, who has potential, no doubt about that. But when he came from Dortmund to Barcelona, last season Ousmane Dembele has played 9 games for Barcelona, 9 games, and scored 1 goal. You know why that is? Because he's so injury prone. He's always injured. He's going to be a younger brother to Phil Jones. Phil Jones and Ousmane Dembele are going to sit together and laugh at Manchester United that they're going to pay him. And you know what? Ousmane Dembele, I mean, the amount of wages it will take to get Ousmane Dembele even on loan. First of all, there are rumors, and again, Fabrizio said this, that Dembele rejected Liverpool in June on loan. Dembele rejected Juventus in June for a permanent transfer. Why? Juventus win titles every year, right? Liverpool are the best club right now in Europe, according to me, apart from Bayern Munich, right? He's rejected those two clubs to stay at Barcelona because he thinks his future is in Barcelona. Why will he come to Manchester United? The only reason I can think of is money. Again, money talks. If United say to him that we're going to give you £200,000 a week, you know how much that is? For the next 9 months, if he gets £200,000 a week, that is £7.2 million a year. And then, if he plays 9 games for us throughout those 9 months, that's essentially 1 game a month because otherwise he'll be injured, right? And you know how much that will cost us? It will be Alexis Sanchez all over again. If he plays as less games as he's played for Barcelona last year, let's say 9 games, he's going to cost us £800,000 per game from Ousmane Dembele. That's more than what Messi would have costed per week, by the way. So, I mean, he might just play 15 games. I'm not saying he's going to play 9 games. What I'm saying is he's so injury prone. You're taking a big risk when you get Ousmane Dembele on loan. Because next year you're not going to get Jadon Sancho. Like I said before, next year you're not going to get Jadon Sancho. So if you cannot pay for Jadon Sancho right now, why wait? Why wait till the end? Why test waters with Dortmund? If we fans can understand this, surely you guys can understand it as well, the board. But they don't. They don't, and it's. I mean, I would rather get even Perisic over Ousmane Dembele on loan, temporary loan only, with no option to buy, because Perisic, first of all, will play 40 games for us, or can play 40 games for us. Number two, he has industry. He is, if he plays on the right hand side, he's predominantly a left winger. But if he plays on the right hand side, one thing you know from him and Perisic, he's gonna give his all. He's gonna first of all, that right hand side needs someone to actually cover Aaron Van Bissaka, and needs someone who can put in good quality crosses. Perisic can put in good crosses. Perisic can cover Aaron Van Bissaka, right? Help him out in defense, good in attack. He's not going to score too many goals, Perisic, but you're going to get a very good quality, very good level of crosses, set pieces, right? And experience. I mean, on loan, I would rather get Perisic than Dembele. At least I know what I'm getting with Perisic. With Dembele, it's just potential I'm getting. There's no output to the potential. So it's a big risk that they're taking, and honestly, this risk of getting Dembele on loan, the risk is bigger than the reward. So I mean, it doesn't make sense according to me. But let's see what happens. And apart from that, Ismail Assar has been mentioned. Again, Fabrizio said that Watford want 50 million pounds for Sarr. Really, you will not pay 100 million for Jadon Sancho, but 50 for Sarr. I mean, it's a business decision. It's not a footballing decision, because if it was a footballing decision, you would get Jadon Sancho, but it's a business decision. He's not as good. He's not as good. I would rather on a permanent rather than get Adama Traore, because again, good quality of crosses, strength, speed, industry on that right hand side. I would rather get Adama Traore. I would next year maybe go for other right wingers, and I can't think of anyone right now, but maybe someone else, and I don't know, but it just doesn't make sense to me to get Dembele on loan or even Sarr. But United have also been linked. Let's move on from the Sancho situation, because we spend a lot of time talking about Sancho. But United have also been linked with Luka Jovic. Now, Jovic on loan again from Real Madrid. I would love to have him on loan because, I mean, if you look at Odion Ighalo, he's leaving in January in 3 months' time. But he's been really poor. He's been horrible. I mean, anyone will be an upgrade on Odin Ighalo. Trust me right now. So if you get Luka Jovic, I mean, Martial is one injury away for us to have a crisis, because we have three players for that three positions up front, right? If Martial gets injured, and trust me, he will get injured at some point because he's injury prone, who do you have on the bench apart from Ighalo to bring on and play in his position? If Greenwood plays there, who plays on the right? Daniel James. Not good enough. So this is again, I mean, I would love to have him. Makes a lot of sense, but again, it's not that United are interested in him. It's all about he's been offered to many clubs, and one of them is Manchester United, right? So apart from many clubs that he's been offered to, United are one of the clubs. Let's see what happens. Personally, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's going to happen. But I mean, to discuss it, we have to discuss it. Let's talk about outgoings, because Chris Smalling again, Roma will be putting in a new and improved bid for Chris Smalling, I think today or tomorrow. I mean, this transfer window is such a mess. While I upload this video, there could be some changes in whatever I've said. So it's such a mess. But Chris Smalling, well, new bid will come from Roma for Chris Smalling. I think let's see what's going to happen. And even if Skriniar lives for Tottenham, I think even Inter will consider Smalling. But I think Smalling will leave. I think we're going to get what we wanted for Smalling, around 15 to 16 million euros, something like that. So I think Chris Smalling will leave. There's interest in Diego Dalot. I think AC Milan. I think, yeah, AC Milan have asked for Diego Dalot on loan. Even not Inter, sorry. Even Roma have asked for Diego Dalot on loan as per Fabrizio. So, but United want to sell him permanently. But right now there's interest in him on loan, and I think he might leave as well. Andres Pereira has already left. That's good for Lazio. A loan with an option to buy for 27 million euros. I hope he plays well in Serie A at Lazio, because if he does, if they buy him for 27 million euros, I mean, it doesn't really work like that, does it? Because even we had a deal with Roma to sell Smalling for 20 million euros with an option to buy. They didn't activate that, and then they come back for Smalling with a lesser amount of money. It doesn't work like that anyway. So let's see what happens with Andres Pereira. I think the last thing is about Romero, which I want to talk about in terms of transfers, because again, Romero one is a he's on heavy money. He's on again 70,000, 80,000 pounds a week. And he's a third best goalkeeper for us now. So what are you gonna do with him? I mean, we have four goalkeepers. We need to sell one. It looks like it should be Romero. Why has he not been sold yet? I don't know. I mean, there are not even rumors that he's been offered to other clubs. I don't know what's happening with Romero. This club, what I understand is because they're so incompetent, they might use January transfer window because it's just 3 months away. They might keep Romero or someone like that, maybe a Lingard till then, and then sell him. And if Jadon Sancho or right winger doesn't come in, or even someone comes on a loan, I do see Lingard also staying. So let's see what happens with these players because the board is very incompetent. And I think the outs will keep dragging on till January. I do strongly feel that. Um, let's talk about the match. Brighton nil, Match United 3. Um, Expected performance, I would say, especially in the first half, because you're playing reserves versus reserves, and our reserves are not good enough. Our reserves did not have the game time, and I've said this again and again that Oli deserves the blame wherever he's doing wrong. And I think yesterday to play Diogo Dalot, I don't know why he played Diogo Dalot yesterday. If he's not in the not in his plans, why don't you play for Mensa? Give him more game time. Why don't you play Aaron Bissaka? Give him more game time because he needs it. Because otherwise, you playing someone like a Diego Dallo who's never played for United in the past 3 4 months, right? Um, it's just weird. I mean, Igalo started again. I thought somebody else would start, but then again, Igalo started. I mean, that those players, you don't even expect Diego Dallo to do well because he hasn't played at all for Manchester United in the past few months. How can you expect him to come on and play brilliantly? You cannot do that. I think there are a lot of positives from the game. Right, the biggest positive for me is Eric Bailly. I mean, that guy. Look, the tackle that he put in. I think it was in the first half or the second half. I don't remember, but that sliding tackle in our penalty box. I mean, if he would have mistimed the tackle, it was a definite penalty and possibly a red card. But that tackle was spot on. You're gonna get those things from Eric Bailly. When McTominay scored his header, Pai was the one challenging him. I mean, he was the nearest to McTominay and he was challenging McTominay. He could have put off McTominay as well. But you will get all these things from Eric Bailly, but at least you get speed with it. You get industry. I mean, he will put his head on anything, literally anything. So you get speed with him, you get industry with him, you get that zeal with him to actually try and defend, which I don't see from, I mean, that enthusiasm. So I think right now, I'm not saying he's a world class defender. What I'm saying is he's better than what we have right now, honestly. So I think I want to see Eric by, I don't know what else Victor Lindelof has to do. I'm not saying Victor Lindelof had a bad game, but Eric Bailly had such a good game that if Harry Maguire is fit for Sunday, Bailly should start with Maguire. And if he doesn't, again, it's a blame, it's a problem, it's the finger pointed at Ole Gunnar Solskjaer because that's tactical, that's his naivety, right? Luke Shaw should start on the left back because again Williams didn't look good at all. Midfield, I thought McTominay. I think what's wrong with McTominay? I think after lockdown he's been really bad. Apart from his goal, really, he didn't do too much. And honestly, I've realized this over a period of time after watching McTominay again and again. He's not a central defensive midfielder. I thought Matic could help him turn into one, but he's not. He's not. McTominay is more as a number 8. He will offer us more in attack rather than in defense, right? So McTominay is an interesting one, and then Fred. He had a mixed game according to me because the amount of passes he misplaced in that game was criminal. But again, he also won a lot of balls in midfield, so I think he had a mixed bag. Um, Odion Ighalo, Daniel James, Juan Mata, Van de Beek were just feeding of scraps. But then again, I mean, I think for me, Juan Mata was wow. He was one of the man of the matches. Dean Henderson got a save in the first half, a terrific save in the second half. What a goalkeeper. I mean, he is seriously challenging David De Gea for that starting spot. So I think for positives for me, if you look at Van de Beek, he didn't have too much impact on the game throughout the 90 minutes because he played with players who are not just good enough. But as soon as Rashford came on and Pogba came on, that one flick for Mata's goal, wow, what a quality flick. Another flick, and that was for Diego Dallo. It didn't materialize to anything. Then he shows quality, and if he plays with good players, he's going to do really well. And that's what I like about Van de Beek. That's why I want him to start because he's doing so well in that forward areas with this one-touch passing, and it's superb to watch. It really is. I think Pogba yesterday got a goal, own goal really, because it was the deflection of a free kick. But then again, a good outing for Paul Pogba will raise his confidence, will put in more minutes in his legs. I think it's a good competition that's happening in midfield between Pogba, Bruno, and Van de Beek. And Bruno might be struggling with his thigh, according to what the reports that I read on Twitter. So if Bruno is injured, now we don't need to really worry because we have Van de Beek who can come and play from the bench with Pogba. So it's good to see that. Um, we need the same in attacking and defense, and we don't have that. And that's where the incompetence of the United board comes into the picture. But I've ranted about it enough. If you're new to the channel, guys, please don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, please hit that like button. We're gonna be live, not live. We're gonna be putting up more videos more often now because I think this 3 4 days, next 3 4 days are gonna be it's going to be a mess. And I have a feeling, and again, it's a gut feeling. I have no sources in the club, I have no sources in the journalist world, but what I'm feeling is what I tell you, basically, to discuss what you guys think. What I'm feeling is it might be a disappointing window. It's already disappointing, but it might be even more disappointing this window for Manchester United because now why will bullshit out and send Jadon Sancho now? I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I'm very skeptical now. I'm really skeptical. And if Ousmane Dembele comes to Manchester United, I'll just run and hit myself. Like I'll just bang into the wall because that's what my club is doing. They're banging their head on the wall. It's just crazy. But till the next time, guys, take care.